come. While Rayon is practicing, some boys approach him with a question about his sword stance. As the boys watch him do a demonstration, they're amazed at how incredible his technique is, like a character from a level-up manhwa. Marta sarcastically congratulates Rayon for reaching her swordsmanship class so fast, calling him a prodigy. However, she then points out how awful his mana sensitivity is, which means all his sword talent is worthless since he can't use mana. She jokes he might become an instructor at best, and the entire hall goes quiet, which is exactly the reaction Marta was hoping for. Her plan was to point out that after 4 months, Rayon has completely failed to learn how to use his aura. Thinking back, the butler had told Marta just how terrible Rayon's talent for aura is. He told her a story from before her adoption, about how the discernment sword showed Rayon's mana potential was basically 0. To make it worse, he's currently the only trainee on the 5th training grounds who is unable to use his aura. The man speculates the best mana technique from a bronze medallion is a mid to upper one, only a slight upgrade from the entry-level technique. Since Rayon failed to master even that, his mana talent must be rock bottom. This news makes Marta absolutely ecstatic. She figures his sword and fist skills are useless for becoming a proper warrior if he can't even use mana. In truth, part of what's ticking her off is that a failure like Rayon managed to counter her. While she's enjoying the low blow she just landed, she sees Runan glaring at her and asks if she has a problem. Runan just forces her to leave the training hall. That evening, after training all day, Rayon decides to call it a night. He's enjoying training because in his past life, he never learned martial arts, only what was needed to survive and get the job done. Now, actually improving himself like this is so much fun. As usual, Wrath is fuming that Rayon did nothing while Marta insulted him, but Rayon just pretends he didn't hear a thing she said. He reminds Wrath there's no point in fighting her now. As he'd said before, suddenly, a knock at his door reveals Runan, holding a box. He's surprised to see her, and even more shocked when she opens the box and hands him a small brown candy to eat. He's not sure what it is, and she just urges him to eat it. His old assassin senses are screaming at him not to, but he doubts she'd give him anything to hurt him. The moment he takes a bite, he's blown away by the taste. Even Wrath admits he's never had anything this sweet, not even in the demon world. The two of them absolutely lose it over the sweetness, and Runan finally says it's called orb ice cream. When she turns to leave, Rayon tries calling out to her, but she doesn't turn back. While Wrath demands another, Rayon just wonders if she came because she was worried. Runan loves sweets, just like any kid, and it seems she gave him the very last orb ice cream she had. The thought of her kindness brings a smile to his face, and he realizes he has to return the favor. Shortly after, Rayon gets home and is smothered with motherly love, like he was gone for months. But it's only been a week. After Rayon reads the monthly report Judiel is sending to the Palace of Warriors, he asks if she's picked up any intel from them. Apparently, there's been nothing new, except a stronger order to investigate Rayon more closely. That happened after they saw how fast Rayon was learning martial arts. But things cooled down once his inability to use aura was revealed. It also seems Lord Karun has completely lost interest in Lady Sylvia. Curious, Judiel asks Rayon if he's intentionally avoiding learning to use his aura. Instead of answering, he flips the question on her, making it clear she overstepped. The real truth, according to Wrath, is that Rayon is just having a hard time learning aura, a pathetic problem Wrath would never suffer from. In response, Rayon immediately goes to train to manifest his aura, and Wrath just calls him a monster for it. The only odd thing is, Rayon runs into instructor Lemaire playing with birds when he steps out. When Rayon asks what he's doing in his backyard, Lemaire says he's there for some specialized elemental training. The next morning, Lemaire drags Rayon up a mountain. When he protests, they're supposed to be learning about elements. Lemaire tells him to trust the process. This also makes zero sense as a place to learn aura elements. Finally, Lemaire recalls inspecting Rayon's cultivation technique. The aura he saw resembled flames as fierce as lava, and its strength was on a whole other level. It wasn't trying to erase the chill built into Rayon's being, but was doing the impossible by accepting it alongside fire. Apparently, if Rayon learns this technique properly, it would be a complete game-changer. They eventually reach a good spot, which to Rayon is just the middle of the forest. Then, Lemaire unleashes a blinding amount of spiritual force that shocks Rayon. The wind Rayon feels on his skin is as sharp as a blade. There are different kinds of wind, from warm to cold to sharp, because he wanted a wind that could cut anything. He found it, and now it's Rayon's turn. But this time, he must think hard about the flames he wants. A true level-up manhwa moment. Lemaire takes Rayon to a place he believes will be perfect. They soon arrive at the home of an old blacksmith who playfully teases Lemaire. This is apparently the place Rayon can feel the hottest and most sincere fire in the north. The old man asks what Lemaire brought him, meaning Rayon, and is informed that he's Master Ziggart's grandson. The man is not impressed, and asks that the master come himself. Meanwhile, Rayon is mesmerized by the fire in the furnace. Apparently, this type of flame is one he's known his whole life. Although he's seen many fires in his past life, the flames of this kiln, the sheer intensity of the heat, are the exact image of the flames he wants. The old man gruffly says his name is Vulcan, from Rayon's past life. He knows Vulcan is the continent's master blacksmith, known across the world. He was said to have created Glenn Ziggart's sword, Heaven's Renown. Our boy bows and introduces himself, expressing his honor in meeting the great Vulcan. His politeness makes Vulcan wonder if Lemaire told him something. Lemaire, denying it, explains to Rayon that Vulcan is Ziggart's retired master blacksmith, who's been stoking these flames for over a decade. This seems like the only place for Rayon to truly feel the fire. When Lemaire asks for an exception, Vulcan suggests the blacksmith workshop, but Lemaire protests that it's a bad idea for others to see Rayon's technique before he's mastered it. Vulcan asks why, and is told Rayon is Sylvia's kid, which definitely gets his attention. After Rayon swears he won't get in the way and begs for a chance to feel the fire. A moment of silence passes. Then Vulcan tells him he's creating golden coal, with heat far stronger than white or black coal, which is why he's been here for 10 years. Vulcan says it doesn't matter what he does as long as he doesn't interrupt his work, which makes Rayon's day. Outside, Lemaire expresses his shock that Vulcan gave the kid permission. When he promises some quality booze, Vulcan makes it clear he didn't do it for him. Apparently, the kiln's flames burned hotter when Rayon entered the room, and the heat spike was enough to ruin the coal. The power to stoke flames is in the kid's very breath. Vulcan considers that this kid might just be the one to fulfill his dream, like a hero in a level-up manhwa. Over the next 7 months, Rayon keeps visiting Vulcan's kiln, and he has time to picture the flames he wants to master until it finally clicks. People say fire is the strongest and scariest element, but if you can control it, that's a whole different story. Fire in skilled hands is more stable than any other element. However, the big problem is that Rayon hasn't been able to master awakening the Golden Flame's art's energy yet. He remembers Lemaire telling him to picture the flame he desires. As Rayon thinks about his goal to end Daryus and restore Sylvia to the main family, it's clear the flame he needs is one that will light his path and defeat any beast, no matter what, and will never go out. Suddenly, a bright flame bursts out before him. The fire's energy seeps into him, so he decides to focus and capture the fire to feel more of it and continue cultivating. It seems like he's in some kind of trance, as he can see the manifestation of the fire he's picturing right in front of him. While trying to focus more, wrath crashes into his mind, reminding him about his plan to hijack his body when he's most vulnerable. As Rayon begins to freeze from the interruption, he realizes time made him drop his guard and forget wrath isn't truly on his side, but is just a demon who has been plotting to take his life. And worse, he's the ruler of the entire demon realm. His body feels like it's shattering, and it gets harder to breathe. It's clear he'll die if he moves. And he'll also die if he stops the Golden Flame art cultivation. His only choice is to focus and find a way to gather his aura so he can survive. The atmosphere grows tense as survival becomes paramount. While Wrath taunts his desperate attempts to live, Rayon's mind gets hazy, and Wrath states his body and soul are his, as any attempt to fight is futile. As he passes out, Wrath says his life is in vain, no different from the old man burning coal, but he assures him that he'll carry out his revenge for him. The mention of coal in a kiln gives Rayon a last-minute idea, a desperate measure necessary so he doesn't die. This is his real level-up manhwa moment. Apparently, it's not the mana from nature heated by the kiln he needs to absorb, but the mana within the kiln itself. The stronger, hotter fire will devour everything, and its power can become his. As he begins this process, Wrath becomes infuriated that he's changing his approach. Meanwhile, the coal in front of Vulcan begins to crackle and pop much louder. To his surprise, a flame bursts out of the furnace. He's never seen the heat spike so abruptly. He figures something must be happening with Rayon, but he notices the boy is trembling, which is strange because there shouldn't be any cold in the middle of all this heat. It's unclear why the boy is shaking like that. And if that's not enough, Lemaire suddenly shows up to stop Vulcan from touching Rayon. Vulcan protests, saying the kid will kick the bucket if they leave him, but Lemaire insists they're helpless since he's in a trance. Apparently, if the kid feels even the slightest pressure, he'll just cough up blood and die. Frost is literally covering Rayon's body from the intense chill, but there's absolutely nothing the two guys can do to help him out. Lemaire silently prays that Rayon somehow pulls through. Meanwhile, in the trance, Rayon's cultivation is seriously ticking off Wrath, who yells at him to stop because it's totally hopeless. Rayon refuses to go down without a brawl, unlike his last life, which was wasted without any peace until his last breath. All he can think is, not this time, and he keeps pushing toward the fire. The heat gets insane, and at this rate, the kiln can't handle this sudden power surge. All the kiln's mana mysteriously starts gathering in one spot, and Lemaire wonders if Rayon is sucking it all up. Inside the trance, the tug-of-war rages on until Rayon finally snags the flame, and the second he does that, a massive explosion rips through the trance and literally blows the roof off the kiln. As it goes, boom, the two men freak out about Rayon's safety, but they get nothing but radio silence from him. Then, the boy emerges from the flames unscathed, wielding golden flames they've never seen before. Meanwhile, the system screen flashes that Rayon has acquired golden flame art. Apparently, he absorbed some crazy heat, and his art has reached 2 stars, produced fire resistance, melted away 2 strands of the bitter frost curse, and fixed his awful stamina. This is a real level-up Manhwa scene. He also apparently accepted the melted frost from Wrath's powerful chill, producing an attribute called Chill of Bitter Frost, which is at 2 stars. It seems Wrath's attack was a blessing in disguise, because Rayon was not expecting all of this, after going through all that trouble. Suddenly, because he survived Wrath's interference in a deadly spot, and showed insane mental grit, the system boosted all his stats by 3. All of this completely shocks Rayon. He's hit a level that should have taken years if it weren't for Wrath's meddling. After Wrath realizes he got played, he demands to know how Rayon survived, since his mental fortitude was at its absolute limit. As usual, Rayon gloats that he told him he couldn't win. The truth is, Rayon really did almost die. If today proved anything, it's that no matter how friendly Wrath seems, he is a true enemy, meaning he can't let him see his weaknesses or secrets from now on. A short while later, Vulcan rushes over to check on Rayon and sees he's okay. When asked if he got his aura, Rayon says, yep, and it was all thanks to him. The bad news? The furnace was wrecked, and Rayon apologizes. But Vulcan doesn't give a damn, as long as the boy is safe. While they're talking, Vulcan spots something weird in the fire. When he finally scoops up the coals with a shovel, he realizes they're golden coals, the very thing he has worked on for all these years. In a flashback, many people had gossiped and mocked Vulcan for wasting his time making coals that were just a myth. In the present, as Vulcan brings out the coals, he realizes he has also experienced a miracle. Golden coal burns hotter than white coal and has a stronger tenacity than black coal, and he's finally found what he devoted decades of his life to creating, all thanks to Rayon. When Rayon protests that he didn't do anything, Vulcan explains that his mana cultivation caused the kiln's temperature to flare up, blooming the flames as he exhaled and spreading heat to every corner. Finally, the old man asks Rayon just what kind of warrior he wants to be, and he says he wants to be unwavering, no matter who he faces or the situation he finds himself in. His response stuns Vulcan, especially from a kid, so he suggests that Rayon come see him in 3 or 5 years if he's still steadfast, when he can finally wield a sword. He plans to save the golden coals for that day. Although Vulcan is retired, he plans to make a special exception to help Rayon forge his sword. Soon after, Rayon leaves the kiln to head home, and Vulcan hopes he doesn't kick the bucket before they meet again. Meanwhile, Lemaire's just glad Rayon finally popped his aura. Master Ziggart shows up, and Lemaire teases him, saying he must be relieved he can stop his daily grandpa spying. Obviously, Lord Ziggart flat-out denies the accusation. Lemaire just ignores him, noting Rayon's aura size and purity is no joke, maybe from absorbing all the kiln's heat. Plus, the kid used it right away. A classic level-up Manhwa moment showing his wild potential. But the Lord noticed something else, how Rayon took the yoke around his neck and completely owned it. At the 5th training grounds, Runan is patiently waiting for Rayon to get back, a box of chocolates in her hands. At the same time, rumors are flying about Rayon not getting his aura for 7 months and how Lady Marcia should get the top title, since he's not so special after all. Runan hates hearing all the gossip and tries to think of a way to help, remembering her mom's advice to repay kindness. After ages, Rayon returns to the training grounds, still bickering with Wrath about why he's such a pushover in their fights. To his shock, The first person he sees is Runan, handing him a box full of orb ice cream. Apparently, she's worried he's bummed about his aura, so she tells him to keep his chin up. While Rayon thanks her for the last ice cream, that refreshing scent Runan always gets from him hits her again. It's stronger now, and smells even nicer, but she has no clue why. Rayon thanks her again, and even Wrath is freaking out over the taste, yelling at Rayon to devour the other two immediately. To Rayon, that's a bad move, since it's obviously a snack she really loves. So, he tells Wrath to stop acting like a kid. Instead of taking more, he just closes the box, which totally stuns Runan, who expected him to grab more. When he refuses, she asks if he feels better, and he confirms. This makes her blush. His answer makes her day, and she skips off happy. But Rayon is just amused by how weird she can be. When the students are gathered, they're told the training regimen is changing to something special in a month, since everyone's sick of the grind. After 7 months of basics and cultivating mana, it's finally time to start firing up their cores. The announcement shocks the students, who are surprised they're starting so early. Lemaire then clarifies that sparring begins next month, and that is music to Marta's ears. She's been itching for a real fight this whole time. As it turns out, the spar's outcome affects their graduation, and they'll be ranked on it. So everyone's fired up to prepare for next month. As usual, Marta rudely cuts in, asking what they'll do about their friend, who still can't make an aura and has fallen way behind, pointing right at Rayon. As students start whispering, Lemaire shuts them down, informing them that this friend has, luckily, gotten his aura. This news totally kills Marta's mood. She's shocked, wondering when the heck that happened. But even stunned, she turns and taunts him for taking so long. She reminds him that she doesn't take orders from anyone weaker than her. Just like on day one, she says she's been patient letting him wear a title he doesn't deserve. But that's over, 'cause she plans to end him in the spar. Warren's hand slices through the air, drawing a line between Martia and Rayon. He tells her to back off, that there's no honor in this when it hasn't even been a full day since he got his aura. In response, Marta scoffs at his take on honor. She snaps that honor is for those who deserve it, especially since that other loser got his aura within a month. But it took their top student over half a year. The murmuring starts again as she adds that 7 months was plenty of time with a high-ranking technique, which just proves Rayon has no knack for this. She tells everyone a warrior without aura will never make a name for himself, no matter how good he is with a sword. She even figures the instructor suggested a spar to shake up the messed-up old rankings, but Lemaire plays it cool and doesn't answer directly. To Marta, Rayon's been hogging the top trainee spot for way too long, and it's time he got knocked off his perch. Picking up where they left off, she suggests the winner of the spar gets to be the top trainee, but Rayon shoots down her suggestion. He says you can't sit at a gambling table with no money to bet, so there's no point in him risking his rank when she isn't offering something of equal value. But instead of backing down, she claims he seems to think anyone here is on his level. But Rayon just asks if she's scared, and his words totally get under her skin, so she'll play his game, since it's the last one he'll ever play. To get him to bet, she offers a 9 Blossoms pill from her father, an elixir that'll boost his physique and aura if he wins. Her offer makes Rayon crack a smile, and he reminds Wrath he'd show him a real level-up Manhwa moment by getting something from Marta. 1 month later, it's time for their spar, and Marta is thrilled to finally repay the favor. Apparently, she's never been hit before, not even in some back alley, and Rayon was the first to ever land a punch. 8 months later, she finally gets her chance to make him pay for that humiliation. Since Rayon's only been using his aura for 1 month, she's positive sparring him will be a walk in the park. Since she's used her aura for 3 years, it's obvious he's just a twerp with no potential, but she remembers she needs him to get stronger fast, for someone she has to rescue. Stepping out, she's certain today is the day Rayon gets wrecked. On match day, the other kids are told to watch the fight, as it could help them plan their own sparring. First up are Warren and Dorian, but Dorian immediately bails before they even start, which catches Lemaire off guard. His excuse? He's feeling under the weather, super sick, and didn't get a wink of sleep. Wrath, grumpy as ever, says Dorian's head would be rolling if he were his subordinate. It's crystal clear to Lemaire that Dorian is just faking it, so he pushes him to at least try, since he'll learn something even if he loses. The sword fight ends quickly with Dorian on the ground, surrendering. Meanwhile, Lemaire notes that Warren can't control his temper and would have won in 5 moves if he'd fought properly. Warren, on the other hand, is ticked off at Dorian for just running the whole time, instead of actually fighting. Next up are Runan and Crane. Yep, the same Crane who had beef with Rayon earlier. When the fight starts, Crane rushes in for the first strike, which Runan doesn't even dodge. Instead, she just counters with her own sword. Her counter sends his blade flying out of his hands, shocking him. Before things can escalate, Lemaire stops the fight and gives his assessment. He points out Crane is way too tense and needs a more flexible grip on his sword. Runan, meanwhile, pulled off a great counter, but she didn't let her aura flow to the tip of her sword. The next pair is called up, and the final matchup is Rayon and Marta. On the field, their swords clash in a frenzied, calculated offensive. Marta swings for Rayon's head, but he effortlessly blocks with a counter. She immediately goes for another attack, which Rayon counters again, much to her shock. After nearly getting tagged by one of his counters, she jumps back, surprised he's blocking all her blows, making her admit he's got some skill with a blade. However, she scoffs at his weak aura, so she powers up her aura, telling him she's about to put him in his place. She goes in for the kill one last time, lunging straight at Rayon. She closes in, ready to land a knockout blow. He's been reading her moves, blocking easily. But this time, the hit feels way more intense. Since he's just parrying everything, Marta taunts him, asking how long he plans on playing defense. Auras need more raw talent than sword skills. As the fight rages, she mocks him, saying it took him 7 months just to make a tiny aura. She demands he give up before she crushes him, but he finally goes on offense, forcing her to block his attack. He's getting tired of her whole talent speech, but she jokes it's because he has none. At this point, Rayon still hasn't used his aura, so she vows to show him real talent. But he offers to show her something better than talent. Then, a bright golden flame erupts around him as he finally activates his aura. Marta is floored as Rayon unleashes the million flame arts. First flame, still stunned. She gawks at the flames, realizing this fire is seriously dangerous. It looks anything but ordinary. The fire is terrifyingly beautiful, but totally mysterious. Sweat beads on her forehead as she grips her sword tighter, clearly not backing down. With things getting serious, she plays her trump card, the solid stone stance. Focal point. Focal point is an art that concentrates aura to one spot. Rayon notes she must be incredibly talented to use it so young. It's obvious she's putting everything into this next strike. Before charging, Marta acknowledges his new strength, but insists he can't withstand her next attack, aura or not. She immediately charges, swinging her sword at him, but he doesn't budge, just inches away. He blocks her sword, unleashing an explosive force that shatters the ground. The nearby students are shocked. Smoke blankets the entire field, obscuring everyone's view. When the smoke finally clears, Marta is on the ground amidst the wreckage, her sword broken, with Rayon towering over her. The students are stunned. Rayon beat Lady Marta. His sudden power-up is straight out of a level-up manhwa. Even unconscious, Marta's hand is clenched in a fist. To Rayon, her willpower is even more impressive than her skill. Later that night, Lord Glenn gets a report on how Rayon crushed the aura Marta had refined for 4 years with unbelievable power. Lord Glenn confirms the flames he saw that day were beautiful, their power belying their size. It seems all of Ziggart knows now, so the Lord tells Liamir to guide Rayon, keeping him from getting cocky. He also asks about Marta, learning she took a hard hit, but her wounds will heal with some rest. The real problem is the major blow to her confidence, which they can only hope she overcomes. Meanwhile, Rayon's gardening, and Wrath is raging because he's messing up, threatening to turn him into an icicle. Rayon, completely unfazed, tells him to stop acting so tough. But Wrath claims he's just hiding behind his cowardly, spiked-up water resistance. It spiked because Rayon took the 9-blossom pill after beating Marta, which massively boosted his skills. He finally completed his 4th flame link, boosting his body, rank, and soul, plus his strength, constitution, and dexterity. His lousy athletic ability vanished, and his poor mana affinity improved, and his water resistance shot up. Basically, the pill brought all his hard work to the surface. A lot of things increased, but the standout was his water resistance, hitting 4 stars. Thanks to that, he can just brush off Wrath's rage fits as cute little tantrums. Today's his last day off, so he came home to check the flowers and relax. While he's working, Wrath keeps muttering curses, correcting him on the right way to thin the soil. Wrath complains he should use his hands, not a spade, to get the good dirt to the flower, making Rayon wonder how he knows so much. Apparently, Wrath once filled a whole flower bed with ice flowers back in the demon world, which got him praised by other demons, and he won't shut up about it. Out of nowhere, Martia appears, and Rayon asks her what she's doing here. Instead of answering, she just sizes him up, wondering how childish he looks gardening, even though she knows he doesn't normally act his age. Suddenly, she declares she wants to fight him again. Rayon thinks it's pathetic that she can't just accept her loss, but she protests she's only here to find out her ranking. To her shock, he asks what's in it for him, since the loser should offer something to challenge the winner. When she insists he doesn't need payment for a fight, he flatly turns her down, which worries her because she's hell-bent on fighting him. The thought of stomping on his flowers to piss him off crosses her mind, but she quickly finds out he doesn't actually like flowers. He's just tending them for his mother, which infuriates her even more. She finally decides to leave, but then Sylvia comes out to greet Rayon, and asks him who his new friend is, motioning to Martia. Sylvia mistakes Martia for a new friend Rayon made during training, but Martia recognizes her as the woman who fell in love, left the family, and only returned to save her child's life. To Martia, her actions to save her kid were brave. Unfortunately, it seems Sylvia has seen Martia before, so she recognizes her and introduces herself. Rayon gets tense about the friendly exchange, so Rayon makes it clear they are not friends and tries to stop her. Regardless, Sylvia walks up to Martia and checks on her after her fight with Rayon. Martia confirms she's fine, which relieves Sylvia. Sylvia notes that she heard her brother, Denier, adopted a talented kid, like in a level-up manhwa, but it seems the child is as pretty as she is talented. The unexpected attention starts to make Martia blush, so Sylvia asks what brings her to their home. Martia, now uncomfortable, lies that she had a message to deliver and tries to bail. She doesn't realize she's trapped until Sylvia grabs her arm, insisting she stay for a meal because she can't let Rayon's friend leave without hospitality. Despite her protests, Martia ends up at the dining table with Rayon and Sylvia. Rayon can't believe it. He never thought he'd see the day Martia sat so obediently. Meanwhile, Sylvia tells her all about how Rayon loves meat stew. Their chat continues, and Sylvia learns Martia is a year older than Rayon at 15 years old. Sylvia gives her the mom treatment, asking about her training while Martia eats. Sylvia tells her their meat isn't as good as the main house and might be tough, so she pats her and says to eat slowly so she doesn't get a stomachache. Those words from Sylvia remind Martia of something her own mother used to tell her when she was little. After she finishes her food, she thanks Sylvia for the delicious meal and gets ready to leave. Sylvia, glad she enjoyed the food, says she hopes she and Rayon stay good friends. Meanwhile, Rayon still can't understand why Martia is acting so calmly when she came to pick a fight with him just moments ago, and he's certain she must have hit her head. As Martia heads home, she knows Rayon probably thinks she's completely lost her mind. The real reason she acted that way, though, was because Sylvia reminded her so much of her own mother, and she just couldn't push her away. Eating with Sylvia felt like the times she used to eat with her mom. Martia had promised herself after her mom was taken by those witch-blood church fanatics and she got adopted by Denier that she'd never lose until she found her again. She's managed to keep that promise all this time and never lost a single fight. Right up until she was defeated by Rayon, the Ziggarts adopted her for her potential, and she's worried they might just kick her out if she loses this badly. Even though her father Denier is a gentleman, she wonders if that's all an act and she'll lose her only hope of ever finding her mother again. Pain rips through her body. She can't believe she actually lost to Rayon. Inside, a worker named Camel informs her Lord Deer wrote a letter and has been waiting to deliver it to her. Sweat breaks across her face as she wonders if the letter is about the spar. Upon opening the letter, Dyer congratulates her on her first loss, saying a single defeat doesn't make her a failure, and she doesn't need to worry. He advises her to dwell on why she lost to fuel her future growth, and he apologizes for his inability to speak to her in person because his mission is dragging on. Finally, the letter explains the investigation into her birth mother's whereabouts is ongoing, and Dyer asks her not to give up either. In response, Marta asks Camel to please tell her father she's really grateful for his message. As she moves inside, she thinks about her dramatic loss to Rayon. As she cuts her hair, she decides not to just acknowledge her defeat and move forward. She can't bring shame to her father. In her mind, she'll be stuck at this point if she overlooks this and won't be able to face her father when he trusts her so much. She decides it's time to ditch her pathetic past and start over from the basics to become stronger. Like in a *** level, up Manhwa ***. The next day at the training center, the students seem surprised by Marta's change in behavior when she goes to Rayon to tell him that instead of a half-hearted apology for always picking fights with him, she'll follow her own words that the loser must follow the winner's orders. She leaves Rayon stunned because he never expected her to actually follow through with her words. He wonders if Marta has also changed so much in a short time, since she's showing greater maturity than one would expect at her age. When he notices her kick Dorian for getting in her way, it's clear she's only changed towards him and not others. Soon after, the new year comes, and a lot changes in subtle ways. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Marta kept listening to Rayon, and only him. Warren learned to lead the trainees in a far calmer and more level-headed manner, and Runan's sword grew sharper and more precise. Meanwhile, Rayon continued training like his life depended on it. In one of their practices, Rayon performs the new riverwalk technique so well the students are shocked he has already mastered it when it's only been a few hours since they started learning. His speed intrigued Lemaire so much that he had to report the situation to Master Glenn. It seems to him that Rayon mastered the technique through visualization, which is quite unbelievable. Lemaire's constant rambling ticks off Lord Glenn, who asks if he's his butler and why he always talks about Rayon every single time they meet. Lemaire doesn't take his comment to heart because he's certain Lord Glenn is also interested in the stories. From the top of the mountain, the frantic movement of the main house staff is evident, making Lemaire wonder if they're preparing for something. Lord Glenn informs him that some envoys from the Kingdom of Owen are expected in a few days, and that's what they're preparing for. The Kingdom of Owen is a member of the Six Lords, located at the continent's center, and one of the few powers maintaining a close relationship with the Syacharts, who are known for their isolation. It is a kingdom of knights that values warriors and sword arts. The envoy's representative is supposed to be the third prince, but in reality, it's a man named Duke Tartan, whom Lemaire recognizes as a total psycho. Lord Glenn instructs Lemaire that the trainees and all training grounds must maintain order, since the third prince will be with Owen's knights in training, and they will want to observe. Based on this, the Syacharts absolutely cannot be seen acting like amateurs. This piques Lemaire's interest since the third prince of Owen is apparently around the same age as Rayon, and he thinks this could be a really entertaining level up Manhwa showdown. His odd expression makes Lord Glenn worry he's scheming something, but he can't quite put his finger on it. When Lemaire returns, he informs the trainees that they will be having sparring sessions with the knights in training from the Kingdom of Owen in the presence of the third prince that very day. The trainees are shaken by the sudden information, but Lemaire reminds them that a warrior must always be ready to throw down, even if they just rolled out of bed. As students mutter amongst themselves, it's revealed the Prince of Owen was meant for the sixth grounds, not theirs, and they're all wondering about the sudden switch. Apparently, a little while back, Lemaire secretly met the third prince after his unimpressive trip to the sixth training grounds, suggesting he come to the fifth if he had time, promising to show him a real fight. It's clear Lemaire purposely told them on the day of the competition. Shortly after, Prince Owen and his knights in training enter the grounds, and the third prince, Greer du Owen, introduces himself. As Rayon spots Greer, he's intrigued by his sheer force for his age and his incredible presence. Lemaire, who is clearly setting Rayon up to fight Greer, asks him if he's down to spar with the prince. Meanwhile, Rayon figures fighting the prince is a good test for their new riverwalk technique and ignition sword arts. Rayon quickly agrees, which delights Lemaire, who picks 20 trainees from their side who want to fight. Before they do, Lemaire says he bet his entire salary on them winning, so they better win or prepare for the consequences. The students are shaken, but rally under Rayon's lead. Before they start, Rayon tells his teammates to look at their opponent's trembling hands, proving that the other side is just as nervous, even though they're standing tall in fancy uniforms. He reminds them their training is tougher than the 6 lords and the 5 demons, and that all the blood and sweat they've poured into training will definitely pay off. The team's confidence skyrockets after his speech about giving it their all and showing their opponents what they're made of, because the vanguard is crucial for morale and needs a sure win. Rayon makes Marta the vanguard. When the other team's vanguard appears, the trainees wonder if he's actually their age because of his size. Marta, however, stands before him completely unfazed. The other vanguard introduces himself as Tar, comments on how Marta has perfected her form, and wishes her a good fight. The size difference makes her teammates wonder if Marta can really win. But Marta, who is always cocky, tells Tar to cut the crap because she's winning anyway. The fight starts, and Greer is shocked Marta overpowers Tar despite her size, like a real level-up Manhwa. It's obvious the warriors of the 5th training ground are incredibly strong, showing off their skill. They're powerful enough to be compared to Kingdom Owen's knights, Unlike the disappointing 6th training ground, these trainees are legit. Meanwhile, Duke Tartan asks Lemaire if this was his goal when he ambushed His Highness yesterday and invited him to the 5th training ground. Lemaire claims he did it because chances to safely fight talented fighters from one of the 6 kings are rare, which makes it a great educational chance for his trainees. When Duke Tartan calls his bluff, Lemaire suggests a small bet on whose trainees win the most of 20 spars. Since betting is more fun than watching, Duke Tartan tries to psych him out, saying his trainees are Owen's finest. But Lemaire insists he believes in his kids, too. Meanwhile, Marta keeps landing heavy strikes on her opponent, and the fight looks intense. After one strike shatters Tar's sword, he's shocked by her raw power, but she just keeps attacking with a wild smile. Finally, she smashes her sword's hilt into his stomach and sends him flying, resulting in her winning the match. Everyone around is floored by how the fight went down, and Rayon is surprised she didn't refine her technique to be more graceful, but instead just boosted her strength and speed to max out her power. As usual, Marta's trash-talking her opponent, calling his fighting pathetic because he didn't put his back into a strike, especially for a strength type. While Rayon's enjoying the show, Wrath is totally bored, claiming even demon kids back home spar better than this. Before he can spoil everything, Ron shuts him up with a zap from the bracelet so he doesn't kill the mood. After a couple of bouts, the 18th match is between Runan and Adelia. Once the two ladies hit the field, Adelia sneers at Runan's totally blank eyes. She immediately flares up her fiery aura while Runan counters with an icy blue one. The fight kicks off and gets intense fast. Smoke from their powerful clashes blankets the arena. Unseen by Adelia, Runan slips right behind her and launches a surprise attack. Just as she spins around to counter, Runan seems to just vanish. To her utter shock, she wonders if it was just an illusion. Runan then reappears behind her again, pressing her sword against her neck and catching her completely off guard. Since Adelia was wide open for a killing blow, Runan is declared winner of the 18th match. As Adelia tries to congratulate Runan on her win, Runan completely ignores her and walks to Rayon to ask if he saw her fight. Rayon notes her riverwalk technique is smoother, a true level-up Manhwa moment, and praises her fighting. At this point, Ron's team has 9 wins, while Owen's team has 9 losses, which is looking pretty sweet for Lemaire's bet. The 19th match is between Warren and an opponent named Saren Castle. While the two guys are introducing themselves, Ryan notes that Saren is seriously strong, maybe the toughest knight he's seen so far, not counting the prince. The fight kicks off as both charge at each other. Their swords clash, and Saren's power seems to match Warren's, making it too dangerous for either to drop their guard for even a second. Then suddenly, as both guys slam their swords against each other, both of their blades just shatter. This results in a tie between both parties. When Warren returns, Rayon tells him he did great, especially against the other team's ace. That doesn't make Warren feel any better. He feels like it's pointless since he had to win for the Ziggart name. To comfort him, Rayon pats his shoulder and tells him not to sweat it, because he's going to win the final round and restore the Ziggart honor. Rayon and Prince Greer step onto the arena for the 20th round of the sparring session. As they do, Prince Greer is surprised that Rayon's energy is way more ordinary than he expected. Out of pure curiosity, Greer asks Ran if he's from the main family. He's clearly annoyed to learn he's fighting a throwaway from the branch family. Greer originally wanted to fight Runan, Warren, or Marta, to get a worthy opponent. Greer makes a deal with Lemaire to get a rematch with either Marta or Runan if he wins this. Hyped, Lemaire agrees to the offer as long as he wins. Greer even cockily tells him to get them warming up. Since this fight won't last long, Greer decides to save his strength and not even use his aura on this guy to have enough left for the real opponents. Meanwhile, Duke Tartan wonders what kind of monster Rayon is, with a presence so hazy he almost missed it. Lemaire is intrigued he even noticed and asks why he didn't warn the prince. Duke Tartan admits he's not warning him because even though he is the future of Owen, the kid has never tasted defeat. So, it would be good for him to lose in a safe environment. Still, Prince Greer is pretty strong, so the Duke figures even a talented swordsman like Rayon can't beat him easily. But Lemaire doesn't agree. To settle things, Lemaire suggests another bet. This guy is clearly a gambling addict. The wager: Ron will finish off Prince Greer in 5 moves. A classic level-up Manhwa beatdown. While they're still haggling over the bet, Rayon unleashes his aura, shocking Prince Greer. Even the Duke whips around in shock as Rayon zips past the prince and lands a huge blow, causing him to collapse. In just a few seconds, the fight's already over, and betting on 5 moves was clearly pointless. It hits the prince that he totally misjudged Rayon, who obviously came out last for a reason. It's because he's the real deal. Duke Tartan can't believe Rayon is just a trainee. His footwork and sword technique are already mastered. As Rayon walks away, Prince Greer protests that he is not finished yet. As Lemaire tries explaining that the spar is over, Greer insists he wasn't using his full strength and would have gone all in from the start if he'd known. While he's talking, Marta calls him a freaking loser for whining instead of admitting he lost. She adds that he reminds her of another loser she knows, totally shading Warren. When Prince Greer recognizes her as the vanguard warrior, she says she can't help her sharp tongue and that he can pack his crap and get out if he can't handle getting roasted. Her statements rile up Edelia, who asks what gives her the nerve to speak to royalty like that. But Marta spells it out that she's a member of the main family and he has nothing on her. Lemaire quickly breaks up their squabble and asks Rayon if he'd like a rematch. Rayon's response is that the outcome has already been decided, especially since a wager was made, so there's no reason to keep fighting. Then, out of nowhere, Prince Greer acknowledges his loss, admitting he failed to see Rayon's true ability and dismissed him before they even started. Greer says he's ashamed of his behavior and snaps his sword, pleading with Rayon to fight him once more, fearing he'll regret it for life if it ends like this. After he pleads some more, Rayon is surprised by his humility, having thought he was just an arrogant prince. So, he decides to accept his offer for one more fight. They get ready again, and it's clear to Greer that he failed because he finally recognized his powerful opponent. This time, he goes all in, releasing a crazy outburst of aura. The power surge surprises both Rayon and even Marta, who had no idea he was hiding so much potential. Despite Duke Tartan's protest, Greer uses the stance anyway, wanting to fight with everything he's got. As if on cue, Wrath appears to taunt Rayon for not noticing his opponent was hiding his true strength. Meanwhile, Rayon looks unfazed, completely certain he can still win. When Wrath calls his bluff, they make a wager. Rayon gets 4 pledge points if he beats the prince, who's now glowing with aura like a level-up Manhwa character. But he gains 10 points of Wrath's rage if he loses. The guys immediately begin sparring, and Prince Greer dashes forward to land the first blow. The attack is so fierce, their swords and auras crash together in a frenzy. The resulting explosion is so massive, it completely blinds the onlookers. The fight continues fiercely, and it dawns on the prince that Rayon isn't losing ground even at full strength. Eventually, he decides to pour all his energy into one defining strike, channeling everything into his sword. Rayon immediately recognizes the technique as the Paris sword style, only passed down to the future rulers of the Owen kingdom. From the energy pouring off Greer, it's clear this is his finishing move, and he's betting everything on this next strike. Because he is also stubborn, Rayon decides to meet fire with fire. So far, Rayon has managed to memorize every move the prince has performed. He decides to use the Million Flames art's first technique, the spin step, which surprises Prince Greer. The fiery golden aura makes Greer react quickly to avoid a hit. Both fighters charge toward each other, one with a fiery aura and the other with an ice-like force. As they reach the middle of the field, their swords and auras clash. Somehow, Greer manages to push his opponent's aura back, certain that he is stronger. Rayon, on the other hand, seems to be having a harder time this round. Regardless, he doesn't give up and pushes back with another thunderous strike. The strike is so strong that Greer's sword shatters on impact. To his dismay, his aura is also pushed back, and Rayon dashes behind him to land his strike. Once again, the prince slams to his knees, and Rayon is declared the winner. From the ground, the prince can't believe it. He was positive he had the advantage in both strength and speed. Strangely, he cracks a smile, realizing Rayon must have some unique step technique to counter his aura. This defeat makes Prince Greer see the truth in the saying that the world is a vast place. He approaches Rayon, thanking him for the lesson in their second match and admitting his defeat. Rayon warmly replies he also learned a great deal. Prince Greer then apologizes for being so dismissive. Finding out Rayon is only 14 amuses him. He lost in skill and attitude to a kid. Out of the blue, Prince Greer hands Rayon the gold medallion from his neck. Rayon hesitates, but the prince insists. He explains, it's proof he will grant any one request, no matter what it is. Rayon is baffled why the prince would offer something so valuable. Greer explains the match cleared his head and led him to a major realization. He feels fortunate to lose to a swordsman like him. As Prince Greer departs, he wishes Rayon luck, vowing to catch up to his skill level. Since they lost, Greer tells Lemaire the wager is his, as they agreed. Meanwhile, in his past life, Rayon was expected to complete missions for nothing. So, getting gifts like this feels a bit bizarre. It's clear his new life isn't going according to his predictions at all. Later, Prince Greer shares the lessons from the spar with Lord Glenn. Apparently, he'd thought he was at the absolute pinnacle of skill, but Rayon shattered that assumption, carrying himself like a seasoned, fully fledged warrior. Though the prince sparred with trainees from 3 of the 6 lords, he's never seen one on Rayon's level. He had so much to learn from him. In fact, he plans to rush back to the Owen kingdom to apply the lessons he learned. His words seriously intrigue Lord Glenn. The lord then asks him to inform the king of Owen that he received the letter sent by his hand. Soon after, the prince's envoy headed home. On the way, Duke Tartan comments on how Prince Greer used his hidden power, and how Perry's sword art might have been overkill for the duel. The prince surprisingly agrees, but Tartan also questions his decision to give Rayon the token. Prince Greer doesn't agree with that part, noting how gracious Rayon was even after he'd been so rude. He felt it was necessary to return the courtesy, highlighting Rayon's impressive display, which was like a special technique. The prince then reveals his gift was a kind of investment. The shocked Duke asks what he means by investment. Greer explains that a kid, with such power at a young age, with growth like a level-up Manhwa, will become a legendary warrior on the continent. From the prince's perspective, forging a connection with someone like that now could be extremely useful later. And the young prince's ability to think so far ahead in such a short time truly impresses Duke Tartan. The prince replies he'd be worthless if he couldn't make simple calculations after years of soaking up the king's wisdom in the palace. Prince Greer can't help but wonder how much stronger Rayon will be the next time they meet. Meanwhile, back at the main building, Rayon, Lord Glenn's butler, remarks that his master seems happy. A foreign prince acknowledged his grandson, but Glenn just scoffs that he's talking nonsense. Rayon points out the warm smile on his face, a sight not seen in ages, that appeared the moment Prince Greer mentioned Rayon's name. Nevertheless, the Lord claims Rayon's old eyes must be playing tricks on him. His denial just amuses Rayon. He quickly changes the subject to Duke Tartan's other message to avoid pushing his luck. The Duke had apparently delivered an urgent message for the Northern Lord. The message allegedly came straight from His Royal Highness Lacra, Albert du Owen II, the King of Owen, and the Sword King of Silence of the 6 Lords. Lord Lacra's message? The 5 Umbrae are finally making their move. Sometime later, at the 5th training grounds, the trainees get some major props for their last spar with Owen's knights. Because of their success, Lemaire figures they're ready and announces a special training session for next week. The students are curious about what the special training involves, but Lemaire warns them this is less training and more the real deal because they're going into the field. Apparently, this field training means they're going to see some real action. They're heading just past Ziggart's southern border to a bandit den called Snow Tiger Point. These bandits are loosely tied to the North-South Alliance, surviving on a toll they collect from the mountain pass. Lately, though, their behavior's gotten way more aggressive. Reports are up about merchants getting robbed and even casualties. Hearing this, the students assume their mission is to just clean out the brigands from the area, but they quickly learn their mission is way more intense. They're informed the bandits hit a village south of their hideout and left no survivors, torched the village, and then bolted. Because of that, their new mission is to track and annihilate the Snow Tiger bandits so they don't get complacent. Lemaire adds that they're rumored to be aura users, a crazy find in any level-up manhwa. He tells them to gear up, they're moving out tomorrow. That evening, Runan gets in some sword practice. Her plan was to sharpen her form a bit before they shipped out, but it's not going as smoothly as she'd like. She recalls Rayon's stab was so fluid and relaxed, and she just can't seem to replicate it. Remembering, Ron is likely in the training room. It dawns on her that she could go ask him, but instead of going, she decides not to bother him and just keeps trying on her own. After a while, her movements get smoother, so she decides to call it a night. Before heading home, she decides to say bye to Rayon, who she's positive is still practicing. She then recalls her mom asked her home early for some orb ice cream. So, she decides to go home and ask Rayon her questions the next day. On her way, someone approaches her from behind. Runan is surprised to see a guy she calls Syria, and she is less than thrilled to see him. The man's name is Sirius Lejeune of House Vassal. He sees her sour look and jokes about her not being happy to see her big brother after so long, which supposedly hurts his feelings. When he repeats that he dislikes her expression, Runan begins to tremble. Eventually, he notes her impressive strength, faster than he expected, and points out that Lemaire is a pretty decent trainer. Sirius says he's proud of her, but that doesn't mean she'll be going into the field or risking her neck in a spar. His warm expression darkens as he pushes her down, joking that she must have slipped. To teach a lesson, he brings up the chipmunk she raised, Ruby. He then pulls out a live chipmunk, reminding her how Ruby died and what happens if she defies his orders. To Runan's horror, he crushes the chipmunk in his hands, which clearly shatters her. The awful act dredges up some truly terrible memories for Runan, causing her to break down. Syria uses her mental state to tell her she's his, insinuating that until the day he comes to claim her, she can't do anything dangerous and must simply exist until he decides otherwise. Memories of dead chipmunks flash through Runan's mind, and she recalls how Syria taunted her with such cruelty when they were younger. At the present moment, the same thing is happening again, and the sickening feeling from her past makes her shriek. As her big brother soaks in her pain, a sudden explosion erupts nearby, spewing smoke. The disruption catches Syria's eye, while Runan continues to tremble in fear. A moment later, Rayon appears between her and her brother, sword in hand. Shocked, Rayon demands to know what Syria is. Syria seems unfazed, remarking to Rayon that it's polite to introduce yourself first before demanding names after just appearing. Clearly, Rayon doesn't think he deserves that, right after cornering someone, guessing he's a thief or mugger. His assumptions annoy Syria, who twitches slightly and explains he's not a robber, but Runan's older brother. Unsure, Rayon glances over at Runan, but she's still quivering, which doesn't exactly add up to a happy family reunion. Syria, on the other hand, claims he made a little joke because he was happy to see her, which caused her reaction. He doesn't know Rayon saw the sick act of him popping the chipmunk, which he calls a joke, claiming it's just a toy. To prove it, Syria shows his clean hands, saying there's no blood, but Rayon realizes he actually incinerated the flesh and blood with his aura. Apparently, Syria is leaving for a long-term assignment and won't be back for a bit. So, he drops a dessert on the ground for Runan before leaving. The psycho comments that Runan made a good friend and hopes their friendship lasts. After apologizing for his prank, he takes off, saying he'll see her later. Meanwhile, Rayon recognizes Syria from his past life, the swordsmanship prodigy of the Slur family and one of the 12 Titans. A character straight from a level-up manhwa. He's known far and wide as the spear and the sword. Apparently, Rayon had only heard his name in his past life, but meeting him now reveals he's a psycho, playing the part of a good guy. The experience has a sickening stench that reminds him of Daryus. Finally, our hero helps Runan up and promises to escort her to her carriage. After he gets her there, she thanks him for walking with her, and he advises her to get some sleep before they leave tomorrow. That night, Runan opens the box her brother left, and it turns out the box is filled with orb ice cream. This doesn't please her. She only whimpers that her brother has returned and nothing's changed. Years ago, her pet Ruby had nipped her while being sensitive with her babies, but it sent Syria into a rage, even though she tried to explain it to him. Despite her defense, Syria eliminated her pet, claiming she was his and couldn't be allowed to get hurt. He was so controlling. He'd instruct that she wasn't allowed to get hurt, only to breathe. He'd even threatened to get rid of everyone if she told their parents, since he didn't need family, and he'd set them all ablaze, sparing only her. Her constant fear was that someone would get hurt if she said anything, so she decided to live quietly, figuring everything would be okay as long as she stayed silent. This life made her a loner, suffering in silence. However, she learned she wasn't the only lonely one after she got to know Glenn Ziggart. After she understood the kind of person he is, how hard he works, the hard times he faced, and how he changed opinions of him through sheer effort. It made her believe she could change, too. That's why she's been trying her hardest to change with him, but it seems she can't do that after all. The next day, the trainees head to the southernmost point of Ziggart village, to Zartan village. After arriving through a portal, they soon reach a spot where La Mare informs them they'll spend the night. Apparently, they left the training center and portal in a hurry, so they're all told to get plenty of sleep, since this is their last rest before the mission. Shortly after, they're led to their lodgings by one of the locals. Once they get settled, Rayon thanks Wrath for the tip about Syria's malicious presence, since he'd have missed it because Syria was hiding it. Wrath replies it was nothing for the girl who gave them ice cream. Since Syria said his mission was long-term, it's clear he won't be popping up for a while. But with him being her older brother, he's worried Runan can't recover. Wrath's solution? Rayon lends them his body so they can ice Syria and return it. Although Wrath is genuinely trying to repay the favor Runan did them with that orb ice cream, Rayon still refuses, since Syria traumatized Runan. He figures just offing Syria won't help. Runan was the first person in both his lives to ever treat him with real consideration, so he's ready to handle Syria himself if anything happens to her. On the second day after leaving the Ziggart territory, the team arrives at the site of the Snow Tiger bandits' attack. The kids are horrified by the burnt bodies littered all over the place, and they can't stomach that someone would do such a thing to innocent folks. It's a grotesque sight, and even the strongest among them, like Warren, look grim. Apparently, the bandits slit their victim's throat before burning them alive. However, Rayon notices Martia isn't reacting like the others. Either she's seen a lot of corpses or made some herself. Suddenly, Rayon realizes Runan is gone. Meanwhile, she's elsewhere, staring at a body, trying not to vomit. On the other side, Lemaire rounds up the boys, reminding them the bastards calling themselves Snow Tigers did this. He let them see the sight so they wouldn't let their guard down against them. The kids are given a silent whistle that makes no audible noise when blown, but can be detected by their instructors, who will come help them out of any danger upon hearing it. They're reminded to expect no mercy from the bandits and to try everything before relying on the whistle. Runan flinches as Lemaire announces they're to take the bandits' heads without hesitation. Rayon is then tasked with breaking them into groups, so he puts Martia in charge of Group A, Warren over Group B, each with about 3 or 4 people. Meanwhile, thoughts of her brother saying she belongs to him and can't do anything dangerous echo through Runan's mind. His threat that anything that hurts her dies by his hand, and the thought of defying him on this mission starts to mess with her. Rayon soon pulls her out of her deep thoughts so they can group up, and she hesitantly agrees. Rayon considers advancing to Mount Luton's peak, which has a clear view and makes it easy to retreat or hide, making it an ideal location for the bandits' hideout, but he knows they won't be there because it's too obvious. In a typical level-up manhwa, they would be, but not with a huge manhunt on. Considering that, it leaves the hills right behind them as a good spot, and he chooses that place for him and Runan instead of the forests. Her sudden tendency to be easily startled worries Rayon, so Wrath suggests that he just say something to her. Rayon, on the other hand, has no clue what to say, since it's a family matter, and he hasn't even figured out his feelings on having a mother, let alone interfering in another family. Regardless, he plans to find a chance to resolve what Syria did to Runan, even if that opportunity will be hard to find. After they make their way up the hills, they find a hidden forest between the hills, invisible from the outside, just as Rayon had suspected. Someone tried to hide all signs of life. It would have been harder to spot for a newbie, but they don't stand a chance since he basically tracked people for a living. The bandits' ploy to hide themselves might work on a hunter or an ordinary tracker, but Rayon senses the Snow Tiger bandits' hideout is close. As the two of them advance, they find traps and several footprints far into the hills. They figured no one would follow them this deep after they'd cleaned up their tracks. Their only mistake? Underestimating who was sent to find them. Right ahead was their hideout's entrance. They spotted a hostage kid standing with 2 beefy guards. The guards were low-ranked, with no aura, but a stronger guard was with him. The other bandits must be inside. Maybe 20 bandits in the cave. So, Rayon considered retreating to blow the whistle, then surprise them after regrouping. However, the kid with the guards looked awful, like he'd die of hypothermia. He wouldn't last for reinforcements. Rayon decided to rescue the hostage and quietly take out the guards. When Runan hesitated, he got her to focus. He assured her they could save the kid, but he needed her help. The plan: she silences the area. He'd handle the rest. Runan was still distracted, wondering if she could change, but she decided to give it a shot. They waited until the guards got tired and distracted. Rayon gave the signal. Runan stepped out to silence the area. The guards were confused as she used her aura dispersion, silencing every voice. They soon realized their shouts weren't going far, and wondered what an aura user was doing in their hideout. Spotting his opening, Rayon dashed at the 2 guards before the skilled swordsman could react. One strike killed both. But he forgot Runan can't handle gore. The sight of them dying triggered memories of her brother brutalizing her pets when she was younger, and it made her scream. Breaking the sound barrier. Things weren't looking good. The sound barrier was shattered. Runan was basically a broccoli, still horrified. They were about to be discovered. The swordsman lunged for Runan's head, clearly because she looked weaker, and Rayon was left alone. Before the sword reached her, Rayon tackled him. He threatened to pluck a bone every time he spoke and demanded answers. Suddenly, the sound barrier was back up. He glanced at Runan, still trembling, proud she could stick to the mission. A true level-up manhwa moment for her. even when struck by crippling fear. As Runan rescued the boy, Rayon confirmed they were the Snow Tiger bandits, 39 of them in total. True to his suspicions, he also learned they had one other hostage inside the cave. The rescued boy suddenly revealed the other hostage was his little sister, and he begged them to save her. Runan promised they'd save his sister. Rayon thought that was a big promise since they were outnumbered. Runan suggested backup. Rayon agreed, and she blew the silent whistle. La Mare was right. The whistle was so silent even Rayon couldn't hear it. The only problem is that someone in the cave heard it and alerted the others that their pursuers were here. Rayon was surprised someone so far inside heard it. Soon, armed men came out. Wondering what little kids were doing there, to stop the men from attacking, our boy quickly held the man he was questioning hostage. The man who heard the sound, their leader, asked who he called. Rayon gave no answer, insisting on a hostage exchange. He asked for the little girl in exchange for the man they held. But the man just laughed, saying he didn't care what happened to his worthless man. Unlike their hostage, he threatened to drop the girl's head if Rayon didn't drop his sword, and it looks like the kids are totally cornered. When Rayon realizes these goons are just messing with him, he tells Runan to look away so she won't see this, and to move only on his signal. Suddenly, Rayon slices the guy's throat and splatters his buddies. The thugs are completely stunned by the sudden turn, and before they can even blink, Rayon flings his sword right past them at the dude holding the little girl. As the sword plunges through the guy's chest, our boy signals Runan to whip up a snow mist with her aura. Runan instantly conjures the fog, and a thick, snowy mist blankets the whole area, blinding everyone. While the goons stumble around trying to see, Rayon snatches the little girl and gets her to safety. Moments later, the mist vanishes, and the bandits realize the kids are gone. The bandits are desperate to find her, frantically searching with murder in their eyes. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the hill, Rayon and Runan are hustling the kids to safety. The little ones soon pass out from the cold, making their getaway tricky. Also, there's a huge chance these thugs will just pack up and hit another village if they leave. So, Rayon decides it's better to end this right here and now. He tells Runan to hang back and guard the kids, but she's freaking out over a bleeding gash on his arm. As usual, he plays it cool, saying he'll be right back, but feels a tug on his clothes. It's Runan, begging him not to go because fighting while hurt is insane. She pleads for them to just wait for the instructors, who have to be on their way after hearing the whistle. And Rayon gets it, she's terrified. He feels for her, but explains it's way worse to be so scared you're paralyzed. He reminds her those scumbags committed horrible crimes, and they owe it to every victim and everyone who died fighting for their families to do something. He also points out they still have a few living people to protect. Finally, he sees an opening to bring up her trauma with her brother, admitting he doesn't know the full story. He explains that the more she fears him, the stronger that fear gets, and it'll own her forever if she keeps running. She listens quietly as he helps her realize she's the only one who can protect herself and the people she loves. Rayon tells her what happens next is up to her, handing her something from his coat. As she watches him head for the bandit hideout, tears well up as she replays his words. She desperately wants to change and break free from this fear. She can't be tangled up in her past anymore, and she wants to protect what's precious to her. She knows she can't stay stuck in this darkness any longer. As tears stream down her face, she opens her hand to find the toy chipmunk Rayon gave her, giving her the strength to step into the light. Moments later, it's a total bloodbath in the cave, as Rayon carves through the goons like they're nothing. Their boss screams at them to bring him Rayon's head, but he's dropping them so fast they can't figure out how one kid is causing this much chaos. As one overeager punk lunges at Rayon from behind, he sidesteps the attack effortlessly, but the leader uses the distraction to unleash his own finishing blow. The attack is so powerful it shatters the ground where Rayon stood. But to the boss's shock, our boy pulled a total disappearing act. As he frantically looks around, Rayon appears behind him, asking if he's just going to look for openings or actually fight. With a single swing of his sword, the boss's head goes flying. The remaining bandits are scared stiff, unable to process how a young kid wields such monstrous power, like some kind of level-up Manhwa hero. Rayon suggests they surrender since their leader is toast. But a sneak attack from behind clues him in. The white-haired guy he just iced wasn't the real boss. The true leader, Vakan, finally shows himself, wondering why his crew is struggling to handle one little punk, and wonders how they'll ever make it into the North-South Alliance with such pathetic skills. Vakan jokes about Rayon's fancy clothes, figuring he's a rich kid, then lunges forward to attack. The guy's thrilled he'll get a hefty ransom for the hostages. He's got some serious power, too. as his attack slams Rayon to the ground. It's clear the true lord of the Snow Tiger bandits is a real swordsman. Meanwhile, during the commotion, another bandit yells that he's found the girl and the hostages. Outside, a trembling Runan tries to defend herself. She's clearly in no state to fight, and Rayon worries he has to help. This distraction annoys Vakan, who insists he's not going anywhere, but will stay right there and play with him. Clearly, Rayon can't help Runan without handling this guy first. Meanwhile, the bandit outside keeps taunting Runan, totally clueless about Aura. He mocks her, saying it's obvious she's never taken someone down before, so he pressures her to hand over the hostages and stop playing games. This dude is dead serious with his threat, and he rushes toward her, ready to get rough. Runan knows she must fight this foe to protect the kids. Luckily, he's no final boss, so she tells herself she can take him down, remembering Rayon's encouraging words. A vision of her elder brother flashes before her mid-battle, freezing her in place. The memory of her brother invades her mind. She knows she must shake it off, but she can't forget how terrified she was. The memory makes her doubt she can be like Rayon and protect what's important, especially since she can't even swing her sword right now. Fear grips her as she wonders how she can do anything when she's never protected anyone. A loud shout of her name snaps her out of it, and she glances over to see Rayon battling Vakan. He looks over at her and insists that she can protect them. His words bring fresh tears, but his tone shatters the darkness in her mind. It all happens in a flash as she turns back to her attacker, who now seems to be moving at 0.5 times speed. Gratitude for Rayon's courage fills her. This feels like a real-life level-up Manhwa moment, and she uses that courage to shatter the haunting vision of her brother. Just then, the bandit lunges, and she cuts him down with one swing. She is eternally grateful to Rayon for believing in her. Meanwhile, Vakan is shocked his man was easily beaten by a pipsqueak like that, and he complains that none of his fighters are any good. Calling Runan a pipsqueak really ticks Rayon off, who snaps back that Runan overcame her past on her own, making her heart stronger and purer than anyone's. He uses the opening to activate his Million Flames art, dashing past the man and cutting him down with the Flower Rain move. After they take out the enemies, Rayon decides to check for more traps before the instructors arrive, but he stumbles upon a rare elixir called the Two-Tone Flower, which is what the bandits apparently wiped out an entire village for. Suddenly, someone appears behind them and asks if the fight's over. This mysterious new guy knows about the Two-Tone Flower and Vakan, and cheerfully asks Rayon if he took them all out. This guy is the Eternity Bandit Lord, Lektar, from the North-South Alliance. Obviously, Rayon doesn't trust him and asks what his deal is. Lektar just laughs at his audacity, guessing it comes from being so powerful. Still suspicious, Rayon asks if he's from the North-South Alliance, and Lektar confirms it. In his past life, Rayon heard of this guy Lektar, a genius swordsman who built a huge fortress in the North-South Alliance in just 10 years. Unlike these Snow Tiger chumps, this guy is a true warrior. Meanwhile, Lektar quickly sizes them up, realizing they're from a major house and direct descendants of one of the 6 lords. He even pegs them for the Sea Art House. Trainees for sure, since they're missing the flame sword emblem. Wondering what his next move is, the guy weighs whether to just end them both. Before he decides, Lektar unleashes a storm of aura. Rayon thinks he's a show-off, flexing his killing intent, but he's forgetting our boy's an ex-assassin. It'll take way more than that to rattle him in this level-up manhwa. Lektar is actually amused that Rayon can handle his killing aura. Meanwhile, Rayon calculates he could take him out with a sneak attack, but his odds in a straight-up fight are basically 0 right now. Still, our boy has 0 intention of backing down, so he draws his blade and tells the guy to draw his. Lektar finds this hilarious, reminding Rayon he'll die if they fight. But Rayon just agrees, that's how it works, the weak die. His answer cracks Lektar up, who wonders what kind of kid talks like that. Suddenly, Rayon's sheer grit makes the guy reconsider fighting. He thinks it'd be a waste to kill him now. Rayon retorts that a warrior doesn't pick his deathbed, which just makes Lektar laugh more. Asking if he's reading quote books and doubting he's even a kid, Lektar adds that his funny speech isn't the only reason he's backing off. A fierce wind has been watching them. This fierce wind talk makes 0 sense to Rayon, but the guy suddenly leaps away, asking for Rayon's name. Rayon gives him his name without hesitation, and Lektar says he'll be waiting for that name to echo from Mount Turkin to the Ravile River, then just vanishes. Our boy quickly decides they need to grab the kids and get out of there, and Runan agrees. But before they go, Runan suddenly asks if she did a good job. The question catches Rayon off guard, and he happily tells her she was the best. And for the first time in a long time, Runan actually smiles. They soon get back to camp with the Snow Tiger bandit leader's head, which totally ticks off Warren and Martia for missing the action again. But Liamir tries to calm them down, saying it was a team effort, and starts telling a story about his own first mission, which triggers the ever-cocky Wrath, who just has to brag about freezing an entire palace solid on his first mission, completely one-upping Liamir's story. The Sorn house later agrees to take in the rescued kids, who are now orphans. This seems to have been influenced by Runan's unexpected soft spot for the children. After returning home, Runan and Rayon are summoned by Lord Glenn. He awards them both a bronze medallion for their success on the mission. The Lord actually praises them, which shocks Rayon, and he even lets Rayon keep the two-tone flower from the battle. After that, things seemed perfect. The only weird thing is Dorian strolling out of the annex when Rayon gets home. When asked what he's doing, Dorian says Lady Sylvia wanted a full